Hi, angels, and welcome. I'm your host, Lisa Everding, founder of Earthy Angels, and I'm on a mission to empower women to live authentically and to take exquisite care of themselves. You can find us on earthyangels.com or head over to our show notes to follow us on socials. Girls, I had a moment today where I thought, damn, I look good at 45. I'm feeling amazing. And then it dawned on me a couple of days earlier, I was like in the complete opposite mindset and not feeling that great. And I was brought up in that generation where you didn't say good things about yourself because it was shown to be stuck up or full of yourself or up yourself, we used to say. But it's actually not. It's actually okay to compliment yourself and to feel good. But as a woman, you can fluctuate between these times of feeling so amazing and then going back to just judging and criticizing and just feeling awful in yourself. So I wanted to share a little bit today about ways that you can navigate out of that, how to catch yourself when you're in that moment, and just really start to shift your perspective back to authenticity. So let's go, girls. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, angels. It's a Saturday afternoon as I'm recording this. And actually, I'll share with you a couple little things that I do when I kind of get into my zone of creativity or wanting to share. I always light incense. I'm in my office at home. I always love lighting some beautiful incense. And I've just sprayed myself with my Truth Teller flower essence I get from my beautiful friend Kate Weston Kinesiology. She is a distributor for the Lotus Way in flower essences, and I absolutely love them. And Truth Teller Aura Mist is for fearless speech, authentic expression, and conviction, which is absolutely perfect for what I am doing. And I always believe in speaking your truth. And so these little tools and rituals just help me kind of get into that space and be really raw and honest and authentic and vulnerable and just say it how it is and what comes up for me. And this morning I like to share things that just happen naturally. In my human design, I'm a responding generator. And what that means is I respond to things. So I respond to external influences or things that will come up or things I see that are happening, like people are talking about in the community. And then I will take action on that or speak on that or share on that or make some changes or think, that might be something I need to bring into my business. That's kind of how I roll. And this morning, it is Saturday and I am on my, I guess, day off, but I don't even want to operate like that anymore. I just work when I want to work, when the creativity pours through me, and want to take time off when I want to take time off. That's like my ideal way of living. Anyway, I'm getting distracted, but this morning I had this funny thing happen to me and I thought I really need to share about that because I think a lot of women can relate. Anyway, I was out, I went on my walk and I come back and I was about to go for a morning swim and do my meditation. And I was just walking around home outside and getting set up in my tights and crop top. And I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflection, like of our sliding glass doors. And I thought, fuck, I look good for 45, like not in an arrogant way. But I thought, I feel so good. I feel so good. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, but hang on, the other day I was feeling crappy in myself and in my clothes. And it got me thinking about how sometimes we can feel so good, yet other times as a woman, we can hate on ourselves or judge ourselves or criticize our bodies or not feel good enough. And I thought, where does that come from? And started reflecting on it for me. And I thought, you know what? Often it comes from comparing. It often comes from that comparison. You know, like I can be walking around in my bikinis at home or on holidays, and I catch these moments where I smile and just feel really content in my body. And then I can see a picture of myself in my bikinis and you're like, oh my God, like that's naturally what we tend to do as women. Or, you know, like I could be moving my body in class on the mat and I feel absolutely incredible thinking I feel so good in my body for 45, better than when I'm in my 20s. Or remember would say something to me like, my goal is to look like you. And I would go, and smile and feel content. And then I would see some of these beautiful young girls walk in their beautiful matching LSKD sets and look amazing and think, I wish I had that body I had when I was youthful. I wish I was young enough to wear that. They look amazing. Or I'd see others teachers on socials and think, I don't look as good as them, or I don't look as fit or as lean. And you kind of compare yourself to other people and you think, what's the common thread here where we can go from feeling so good 1 minute to another day or another minute feeling so unfulfilled or unsatisfied and not good in ourselves. And often it's that comparison. And you think about it, like when do you feel crappy in yourself or not good enough or not satisfied in your body? It's predominantly when you compare yourself. Maybe you compare yourself to other women, or maybe you can get stuck. And I'm only speaking from experience as well here, girls. Like, you can get stuck from comparing yourself to what you used to look like when you were younger, i.e. the past, or before you had kids, or what you wished you looked like down the track, i.e. the future. I'll be happier when I look like that. I'll be happier when I'm skinnier or fitter or stronger, or whatever it looks like for you. Or you can get stuck in comparing yourself to other women. It could be friends in real life, or you could be comparing to what they put on their socials, or it could just be people influencers that you follow on socials, or people you see on TV. Or you could see old photos of yourself and you compare where you are now to what you look like in those photos. And you see these photos and remember a happier time in life where maybe you were younger or fitter or had that pre-baby body. But chances are, if you go back to that younger, older, pre-version of yourself, you're probably still unsatisfied and feeling unfulfilled then, probably wishing that you look different then, which got me thinking, well, my future self, 10 or 20 years from now, is going to look back at 45-year-old me and say, I wish I had my 45-year-old body. So I started thinking, why don't I just love and accept her now instead of wasting any more time and precious energy? I just really need to start accepting myself now. And I understand that everybody has different life experiences. Everybody has different past, different upbringing that influence the way that you feel about yourself now. Your belief system, your self-worth, how you see yourself, it can be formed and shaped from others, so from people around you. And you can't change the past. You can't change how your parents were, what your family was like, what was said in your family home, how you were raised, what happened to you in high school, how partners have treated you in the past. We can't change that. And I'm really my heart goes out to women, and I'm truly sorry if you have gone through any sort of trauma or situations that caused you to be where you are now. Sometimes trauma or generational beliefs, they get held in the body. And in some instances, you may need professional help to help you through these kind of situations, like a psychologist, a counselor, energy healer, kinesiologist, Reiki, any kind of professional out there that can really help you, because some things are so ingrained within us that they require deep-seated healing and one-on-one support, which I highly encourage, because some things you just can't shift on your own. And a professional with a different perspective can highlight things which the individual person just can't see. But you know what you can do? You can always make the decision to change. You can always want to better yourself. You can always want improvements. Sometimes you just get to the point where you're sick of feeling how you are now, so sick of it that you just want the contrast. It propels you to want more, and it propels you to move forward. Sometimes it takes for the nail to be so strong to make you want to get off it and you've just had enough. So you can change the now, you can rewrite your story, and you can make a decision that you're going to raise your kids different. You're going to be a different woman for those people around you. You can decide right now to become a better version of you. You can live with the hope of learning to love and accept yourself, to learn to love and accept the beautiful woman that you are and the body that you have. But sometimes just starting to have that awareness of where you are now, what triggers you, what makes you feel unsatisfied or unfulfilled. I'll give you an example. I notice when I travel overseas and I'm away from routine, I'm away from people around me that I know, I'm disconnected from socials, from TV. I'm only with my husband, my family, maybe some close friends, and I would feel amazing, just feel absolutely sensational. And what's funny is I had this conversation with one of my beautiful friends, Jody Overton. She is psychic medium, energy healer, one of my first energy healers who I love and adore. And we were out to lunch last week and we were just talking. She'd been away overseas and I had been away overseas for 3 weeks. And we were just talking about how there is just less pressure. She's like, it's so much easier when you're away sometimes. You just have less pressure and you can really be yourself on your holiday. You're not worried about running into anyone you know. You're not worried about putting a heap of makeup on. You're not worried about having to impress anybody. Like, you just can be yourself. And you're often in these cultures that are really supportive of women who are just themselves. Like, it's just so easy to throw on a dress or a pair of sandals and wander down somewhere down the street for dinner or into the local restaurant. And it's just so easy to really be yourself and just let that kind of free, wild spirited woman kick in and take over. And then on the other extreme, like we were in Bali for a few weeks, and there was one place that we were at, and it was Krecha, this beautiful place built in the rice fields in Ubud. And we're like, this is just a perfect Instagrammable place. And it had the beautiful, like 3 pools kind of layered down into the rice fields. And we were looking around and there were so many people just trying to get that Insta perfect pic, and the boyfriends running around getting into that, like getting them into position and taking the Instagrammable pic, which is fine. And I understand that people run businesses on social media, and I totally get that and I totally understand it. But I just had a different energy, a different vibe in this place. I'm like, it was fun, but I kind of couldn't wait to get out of there because there was a lot of, it was beautiful. Like, it was really, really beautiful, but it's easy to kind of get caught up in that kind of perfect social media pressure. And I take content on social media if I'm on holidays, but it tends to be, it's not really staged. And I look at some of my content sometimes, I go, well, it's not really as professional, but when I'm on holidays, I'm not interested in wasting my precious, valuable time on staging things, getting everything perfect. I just want to capture things in the moment. Sometimes I'll, like film a little bit of yoga where I'm down, where I'm staying, and I literally just throw my phone up, lean it against something and do a little bit of practice and cut it, crop it, throw it up. And that's kind of it. I'm not wasting too much time there. And I just got thinking to myself when I was walking around this place, I hope these people spend time taking it all in as well. Like, this is great. It's beautiful. It makes for some, awesome social content. But I just hope that they also balance that out with living in the now and not through the lens of what they look like and wanting better content than others or the perfect photo, and just really enjoy it, because you can get so stuck in the trap of comparison and self-judgment about what you look like or what you need to present to the world that you lose your own authenticity, which over time can become so damaging and lead to unfulfillment and just lead to spending your life living in the ego instead of living in your heart and living from that real soul-centered living. And the other thing that I notice about when I travel, we've done a lot of travel over the years as a family, as a couple, on my own, and been to some of the most incredible places. And there's a lot of cultures that we have been to that I've said to my husband, it just feels so beautiful here, so raw, so authentic, so genuine. They just focus on their family, their traditions. It's just such a real genuine feeling of love and spirituality and service. And it just got me thinking how we need to kind of implement, I guess, some of those different traditions or culture, how we can learn from that. I look at everything through the lens of what can I learn, or just living in that nice life experience. And I've just really learned a lot from traveling to some of these cultures and how they live, because some of them aren't as, and I guess it depends on the age of the culture you go to as well. It is different with the different ages because social media is everywhere, right? But some of them I just felt there just wasn't as much pressure to be anybody else but yourself. These people are really beautiful and genuine, and you just feel so comfortable being in their energy. And I wanted to share with you just a few, I guess maybe some tips or some things that I do that can just help you get out of that comparison trap, or just become aware of it, or reflect on it, or just make some changes to shift your perspective a little bit, so that you do start to feel more comfortable in your skin, and you do start to love on yourself a little bit more. And there's some things that I do personally, some things I teach, some things I bring into the studio. And one thing that I often always come back to and always teach is gratitude. I remind people on the mat, in classes, always at the end of class, we reflect on something to be grateful for. And reminding the girls, like, to be grateful for the beautiful body that you have, and reflecting on, like, what does your body, not so much what your body looks like, but be grateful for what's one thing that you love about your body. What's one thing or a couple of things that you're grateful for that your body does for you, or the experiences, the life experiences that it's allowed you to have, or given you, like birthing babies or going on an epic adventure, all of those amazing things that our bodies do for us, they give to us. And embracing the stage that we're at in our life. Our loved ones love us exactly for who we are. And it's often through our own lens that we have this feeling of not being good enough, or not being beautiful enough, or not being perfect enough, or not feeling nice in ourselves and accepting ourselves. It often comes with us, because if you look at your loved ones, or you just look at your own, some of, your own family members, or your friends, or your partner, or your children, you love them for them, and chances are they love you exactly for who you are. So just starting to embrace the stage that you're at in your life and what's going on in your life. We're all at different stages. We're all going to go through different stages, from our teens to that maiden, to the mother, to the, I hate the word, but the matriarch. I like to think of the wise woman. And we're all going to go through all those stages. So instead of comparing to where we've been or worrying about what's to come, just embracing the stage of your life that you're in now, embracing the cycles that you go through, because you're going to have times, girls, it's part of being a woman. I tell the girls when they come into class, you're going to have times where you walk in and you feel amazing and you feel lean, or you feel light, you feel energetic. Then you're going to have days where you feel bloated, you feel full, you feel tired, you're on your period, your kids have kept you up, you've had a crappy week at work. Like, that is life. We have ebbs and flows, and we have periods where things are flowing nicely and we're feeling good. And then we have things that throw us off, and that is fine. Like, kind of just try and bring yourself back. What can you do to bring yourself back? But also just embracing those stages that you're at. When you're on your period, if you feel bloated, you feel heavier, maybe you need to have a little bit more rest, a little bit more self-care, and just starting to really be at peace with yourself, and just having this acceptance, like, this is only temporary. I'm only going to be in this stage for a couple of days, and then I'll get back to feeling good. And that is going to be the cycle of life all the time, girls. And I've found that reading books, listening to audios, things like Louise Hay is a prime example. She has an incredible book called Heal Your Life. She's got a lot of incredible books, and learning to take content out of people who are going to lift you up and give you a different perspective. And books, audios, podcasts, like, what can you surround yourself with? Living in the now. What can I do for myself right now is something that I always try to embody. Instead of getting stuck in the past or worried about the future, just what can I do to fill my cup up or to make me feel good right now? Things like, and this will go back to Louise Hay again, like, she's the queen of this, affirmations, mantras, meditation, just teaching and training yourself to be more present and to really starting to accept your body in the now for the stage that you are at. Yoga, coming into yoga classes, or whatever practice makes you feel good. But yoga has a way of builds a connection, and it unites your body, mind, and soul. And it really teaches you to work with your body and to unite with your body, and it teaches you to communicate with your body, listening to your body signs and signals and what's happening. It makes you really, I shouldn't say makes you, it teaches you to develop an awareness and this strength and unity within yourself. It is an incredible practice, and starting to wear things that make you feel good, not so much on trends or fashions or what everybody else is doing, but what makes you feel beautiful, feel sexy in your clothes, feel comfortable, feel feminine, feel flowy, feel however you want to feel that makes you feel good. It doesn't matter about the brand or the label, just what makes you feel good. And surrounding yourself with positive, uplifting women and environments, which can go back like to the audios, to the podcasts, to the classes, to gyms, to social activities. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they women who are supporting you, who are uplifting you, who you uplift them at the same time? It's something that you give out, you get back what you give out. So just thinking about what environments am I surrounding myself with, and trusting in yourself and your guidance. So asking yourself, am I going to go out and do the things that make me feel good? Or am I going to go out and do things because my friends are doing it? Like, for instance, trying to find a partner, okay? You might feel like you don't want to put on a ton of makeup and get dressed up and go out and have a drink on the town with your friends, and prefer to have an early night and maybe get up for a sunrise beach walk or go to a class, have brekkie at a cafe, because you feel that you need that more. Your heart and soul is craving that. If that happens, girls, no matter what other people are doing, do that. Learn to start listening to your intuition. Follow your heart, follow your guidance, because maybe that's what you need to do for yourself in that moment. Maybe you need a bit more self-care. Maybe you need a bit more peacefulness rather than a night out. Maybe you might meet someone on the beach who's meant to come into your life naturally, as opposed to trying so hard to force it and find someone out in a bar. Maybe you might make a new friend. Whatever it is for you, your soul will guide you on this path if you just follow the breadcrumbs and start to listen to what you need in the moment, more so than what everybody else around you is doing. So start valuing your authenticity as opposed to fitting in and changing yourself to your environment. Have the courage to say no if you don't feel aligned with going somewhere or doing something that others are doing, just because you have FOMO, you don't want to miss out, or you feel like I need to go because they want me to be there. Have boundaries over what you will and won't tolerate, what you want to do. Just another example is tolerating about the way that people speak of others. For example, people don't tend to whinge or talk shit about other people to me, because I just don't engage in it. I might change the subject. It's not something that I want to do. And it's in the energy that I give out regarding my personal boundaries in my life and what I tolerate, say, for example, in my studio to protect my members. So because that's my energy and that's what I like to protect, and I have those boundaries, I tend to attract people into my life that are just on that same level of thinking, I guess, or on that same vibration, that same wavelength. Like, for instance, I had another trainer say to me from another gym, like, don't you hate the bitchiness that sometimes goes on amongst members? And I said, nope, I don't get it. I don't get it in my community. We just don't have it here, because we don't attract it, because that's just boundaries that I have set for what I want to protect with my energy, my members' energy. So think about it for you. What do you tolerate? What do you want to protect? What's sacred to you? What will you tolerate? What will you not tolerate? Because you attract who you are at the very essence of your core, and people around you have the power to influence who you are. So you have to be very protective of your association, girls. That is something that I think is just so important. And your association is not just with people, it's who what you let in, what you allow into your space, whether it's TV, whether it's social media, whether it's audios, podcasts, books, your environment. What do you allow in? Protect it. Release what doesn't serve you. Sometimes you might need to unfollow certain people, or reduce the time spent with certain friends that you might start to gravitate away from. You just don't feel in alignment with them anymore. That is okay. If that's what you need, that is okay. And try and get out of your head worrying about what other people think. I tend to think, like, people walk around with this sign on their head, what's in it for me? I remember reading that somewhere and it's always stuck with me. And what that does is it reminds me that people are genuinely concerned with, not in a selfish way, but people are genuinely concerned with worrying about themselves and how they're presenting and what they're doing and what's going on in their world, that they're not really worrying about you anyway. And if they are, it might only be for a split second, and then they go back to worrying about themselves. Yet you can waste so much of your precious time and energy and resources on trying to compare and compete and fit in with other people instead of being who you need to be. So I just want to encourage you to just not worry about what other people think. Girls, it's freeing. It's like you just release these chains that have been capturing you and holding you captive when you can let go of what other people think. It's a really, truly magical place to be. And I was there for a long time. And also another thing, speaking on that topic, is letting go of this ideal of perfection, this ideal perfect body, because that's often planted by the media, which also changes over the decades. You just have to look at the decades of how things have changed in the media, like from the Marilyn Monroe body to the Kate Moss frame. Everything always changes. So why are we trying to waste our time even keeping up with that? And perfection is different for everybody. Everybody has this different perspective of what they find attractive, what they like, what they dislike. So you don't need to be liked or attracted by everybody. You just have to find your tribe. And that comes from when you are being your authentic self. And one thing that I always like to do is learn to look at myself and other people, but look at myself through the eyes of love, through the eyes of a child, and through those eyes of God. Is something I remember Abraham Hicks said many years ago. She said, look at yourself through the eyes of Source. God, Source, universe, whatever you want to call it, loves you unconditionally, and start to see yourself that way. And then so many of your fears or your worries or your concerns start to disappear. And when you can start to do that, you can start to be the change. Give other women compliments. When you start to compliment other women, you are having so much confidence and courage in yourself, so much worth in yourself to give another woman a compliment and rise that person up, which in turn rises you up as well. And girls, when you take the absolute most genuine care of yourself without this need to look a certain way, or without the need to be a certain weight on the scales or a certain body fat percentage, but you genuinely want to take care of yourself to feel good and to have the best life experience, your perspective starts to shift and you start to look at yourself through the eyes of nourishment. How can I nourish myself? Instead of having this goal to look a certain way, you start having this goal of how do I want to feel in myself? And one thing I always try and tell the girls in the studio, and I've told my children, accept that you have one body to get you through life. So we may as well start working in alignment with it, working with it, coming in unison with it, as opposed to having this constant fight, because we've only got this one body that is going to get us through life. So we may as well start to really embrace that divine feminine energy of loving on it, having kindness and compassion towards ourselves, this softness towards yourself. And it's in this process that you start to love and accept yourself. It's hard to just say, I'm just going to start loving myself. It comes from your actions. It comes from the way you treat yourself. And that in turn ripples out to how other people treat you, because you're going to have times where you feel good and then something will trigger you and you'll go backwards. But that's life. That is normal. That is life. That is part of being a woman. But you've got a million tools out there to help you. I've gone through some and I've got some more to continue with. There are so many different tools to help you when you get out of alignment and when you feel like you're going backwards. And the key is to start with something that you find makes you feel good for you. What tools do you find helpful for you? Some people hate affirmations and journaling, but they might find going to a class or listening to an audio makes them feel good, or paying gratitude and acceptance and beautiful, kind words to themselves in their mind's eye. They prefer to do that over writing. That is fine. What is it that you enjoy? Because that is what you're going to continue with. You don't want it to be hard, and you don't have to take on all of these things that I'm sharing with you. Just pick out a couple of things that you think I can actually do that, or that is something that I like the idea of. I'm going to start doing that. And when you get out of your head and more into your heart, that is when you start to live in a place of doing what feels good for you, following your heart and soul. And it is an easier, more effortless place to live than being constantly in our heads all the time. Jodie taught me that. It was one of the first things that she taught me many years ago when I went to her for my very first kinesiology session. She said, "Oh my God, you're so in your head. We need to get you out of your head and into your heart." And it is a process. It is not something that happens straight away. It's definitely a process of just implementing these little tools, little rituals, shifting the way you think, the way you see the world day by day. These little things that compound over time, and starting to embark on a spiritual journey. You may have already started. This may be new to you. You may be right in the thick of it. We're all in different places. But when you start to tune within and openly having this, open with yourself, having this spiritual awakening, this spiritual journey, and learning to worry more about the inside than how your life appears on the outside to other people, and learning to trust your intuition and your guidance, you start to be happier and feel more fulfilled. I've been on a spiritual journey for a number of years now. I'm 45, and I really kind of started to dive into it in my 20s and towards my late 20s. And then I went through another whole new spiritual awakening just last year when I got my implants removed. And that was a whole other journey. I've got a whole other two episodes on that, about what happened, my spiritual journey from getting my breast implants removed, and how it really stripped me back raw naked to learning to love and accept myself all over again, and owning and looking at why I did it in the first place. And there might be some other girls out there going through the same thing or thinking about getting breast implants. I encourage you to listen to my other episodes. And anyway, that will share a lot more of that insight. But that was a whole other spiritual awakening for me again. And I think we're going to go through a few of these in our lifetime. But when you can live authentically and do what lights you up and what aligns for you, you can start to be the change and inspire other women to do the same. You don't have to wait for anybody else. You just need to start feeling good in you, because then you are going to attract the right people into your life. When you start valuing how your body feels versus what it looks like, embody what it feels like to be in your body. And this is one thing that I really love about yoga, is it really teaches you to be in your body. And I love skinny dipping. I love swimming naked. There's just something freeing about the sensations that I feel on my skin and the way it makes me feel, instead of worrying oh my God, what if my neighbors see me? And real fears like that, starting to value more over what things feel like for you rather than what they look like. Because I love feeling so good in my body, as I'm sure a lot of other women out there feel the same, or you're starting to understand what it feels like to actually feel good in your body. I love feeling free in my body, feeling fit, healthy, strong, energetic. But I also value that softer side too. I value caring for myself. If I need a little bit of a sleep, I'll take that. Having compassion when I'm tired, learning to listen to my body's needs, because your body communicates to you. It tells you things, but you need to pay attention and listen, and then take the appropriate action. Because what happens is, whatever you do, it's going to ripple out to other women around you. Body positivity starts with you. It's going to ripple out to your kids. They pick up on how you feel. And it's not so much, girls, what you say. It's your actions and how you feel. They pick up on it. I'll give you a couple of examples. So my daughter Riley is 19. I've got a son Brock who's 17. Riley's 19. And I've been saying to the kids, I'm just going to use Riley as an example. She's my daughter. And from a young age, I have been telling her for years, honey, you are beautiful inside and out, and really teaching her about the health of her body. And she's not healthy all the time. Don't worry, she's typical teenager, but teaching her to feel gorgeous inside and out. I'd say to her, your body, talk about her body, her mind, her soul, how beautiful she is on the inside and out. And when she would get ready, even now, she's just started a new job, and she's got all this beautiful corporate wear. And I said to her the other day, you look beautiful, honey. Do you feel beautiful in yourself? And she goes, yep. And I said, good, you should. And because she has felt so good in herself over the years, she's attracted a partner who reflects that and adores her. And she's real, she's confident, and he makes her feel like a queen. But it's because, you know what? She already felt like a queen in herself first. She already felt so beautiful in herself that she has attracted a partner. They've been together for 3 years so far. And you have to feel that in yourself, girls. You have to really feel that in yourself first, because then it will ripple out to those around you. I checked in with her this morning, actually. I said to her, this podcast episode has come to me this morning. I've written about it. This is what I'm going to say. Is that genuinely true? Because I see that, but is that genuinely true that you really honestly feel that way in yourself? She goes, yep, I do. Thanks, Mum. She said, but obviously not right now, because she had just kind of gotten out of bed, not long got up. And I said, yeah, that's cool, babe. But overall, I wanted to check in with her and get her approval before I speak about her. And she does. And one thing that I've always kind of done with the kids, I see things so different. I look at things differently. And I've always kind of looked at, no, I shouldn't say always. As I've gotten older and my perspective has shifted, I look at the body, like I look at people and myself as a human body, as a soul having, in this body, having a human experience. One of my clients said to me at retreat, she goes, I like to call it our earth suit. I said, I love that. That stuck with me now, our earth suit. But we're this soul in our human body having a human experience. So I would start to look at the body of more as a perfect ideal body, as more of just being a human. And like Riley, an example, when she was younger, I still remember to this day, we were sitting on the stools in the kitchen bench, and she looked down at my legs on the chair and she's like, Mum, your legs look fat. She goes, my legs are fat by the way that we're sitting. You know, when you sit on the chair and your thighs kind of squish out to the sides a bit. And I said, babe, that's what the human body does. You stand up and you can see a different shape than when you sit down. Just like when you stand up and you might feel, you know, like a bit leaner in the stomach, and you sit down and you have rolls in your tummy. That's just part of being a human body. It has to bend that way and it has to move that way. It's just part of being a human body. And that's what the human body does. Like when you eat a big meal or you get your periods, you bloat, like you're not going to look perfect and you're not going to look the same all the time. We all have a human body, and we start to look at it from that perspective. It just shifts a little bit from this idea of being perfect all the time, because we are so surrounded by pressure. The way that we live, the way that our kids are brought up, we can't change that. But you can change what you allow yourself to get caught up in. You can change whether you live more from the ego or whether you live more from the soul. And when you feel good on the inside and you live in more alignment with your own authenticity, you don't need validation from other people. But you know what the funny thing is? It streams to you anyway. You find without you even trying that you do get compliments, you do get validation, because you're not even trying. You're not attached to needing it. You're not attached to the outcome. You're just being you. And people find that attractive. People love that, and people are inspired by that. And if you just start to embrace yourself exactly as you are, quirks, weirdness, and all. I used to have this fear about putting myself out there and letting the real me be seen. I would think to myself, I would say to my close people around me, or I'd worry to myself and think, will people think I'm weird or super spiritual, that I use oracle cards or sage, or I love crystals, or speak to like my past loved ones, or get spiritual downloads, want to become more psychic medium, all of these things. Or I would think like, oh, what would my mom and mother-in-law think that I share openly about skinny dipping? I had a family member that said to me, I can't believe you're sharing your explant journey publicly. I couldn't do that. And then you start to second guess yourself and feel like you have to hide yourself a little bit, or worry about putting yourself out there. And I remember Tom saying to me, he said, babe, you help people by being open. You help people by just being yourself. And he said, even if you inspire one person by sharing, like, isn't that amazing? And he so right. And the more I started to just be myself, and the more I just started to embrace my quirks, my weirdness, all that I am, I had more and more people start to reach out to me saying, thank you. Thank you for sharing. You've inspired me to try this. Thank you for sharing. You inspired me to investigate my health problems, and I'm going to get my breast implants out. Thank you for teaching me to use Sage, or thank you for teaching me this one thing, or do you know what? I secretly use Oracle cards too, and thank you for openly sharing that because I was worried that to let people know. So when you start to embrace the real you and not be afraid to let her shine, because you know what? Along the way, you will start to accept yourself more. You will start to love yourself more. You will start to feel like a goddess on the inside, which is going to radiate to the outside. And that is what is most important. It's how you feel about yourself. And you know, it's funny, not funny. I pulled this Oracle card this morning. I'm going to share it with you because it's really reflects what we're talking about today. Oh, and also funny story. 3 times this week, I have heard that Natasha Bedingfield song, Unwritten, that I love. I put it on one of my stories when I was walking the dog and I got poured on, walking Kira out in the rain, I got poured on, and I put that song on my story about feel the rain on your skin. We were watching a movie the other night, Anyone But You, which is funny, and that was a song that he was using as his calming song, was Unwritten. And then it just randomly popped into my head on my walk this morning. And I love the lyrics of that song. And that's 3 times it's come up for me this week is unwritten. The rest is still unwritten, and letting your inhibitions go. And I'm going to read this card to you that I picked out this morning. The card, this deck is gorgeous. Actually, it's called the Divine Feminine Oracle Guidebook. It's this beautiful red deck of all of these beautiful women deities. And this one that I picked, Layla, and it said, words have the power to shift our reality or to continue to reinforce it. Louise Hay, founder of Hay House, turned to me during a dinner party, looked me right in the eyes and declared, every word you say is an affirmation. This is perhaps one of the most crucial spiritual lessons to remember. If we are not separate from the soul, and if the soul is not separate from the divine, then we have the power to co-create our life. Layla is the invitation to pay close attention to each word we say to ourselves within, and to the words we say about ourselves to the people we love. She is the acknowledgement from the soul that our every sentence is a prayer. If we want more love, more light, more of that joy and freedom that expands our capacity to be present in the world, then Layla reminds us that we can become the author of our own reality right now. We can speak our desires into being. She's the reminder that we are so powerful that changing the words we use to describe ourselves can change the trajectory of our lives. We can choose to focus our attention on each I am statement we say, and we can infuse our lives with the nectar that comes when we act on the truth that we are not separate from the divine. Your intention is every word I say becomes a prayer. I am the author of my own story, which I thought was very fitting, hearing that unwritten song 3 times this week. So I want to leave that with you about the power of your word, the power of your I am statements, the power of what you say to yourself. And just know, girls, that you are beautiful and perfect and amazing exactly as you are. You don't need to improve for anybody else, just for yourself. Have a beautiful day, angels. Bye. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode and want more, feel free to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you listen to. You can also head over to earthyangels.com or join our private Facebook group, Earthy Angels Connect, for more community, blogs, updates, inspo, motivation, support, and to connect with a tribe of like-minded souls. And if you have a moment, we would be super grateful if you would love to leave a review. Sending you so much light and love, Angel.